But I wanted to conclude with this. I keep saying that this surah is a twin to Surah An-Nur. It's a twin to Surah An-Nur. And in Surah An-Nur also Allah describes الَّذِينَ يَرْمُونَ الْمُؤْمِنَاتِ or يَرْمُونَ الْمُحْسَنَاتِ الْغَافِلَاتِ الْمُؤْمِنَاتِ. People who make accusations against good family women that have no clue what the talk is. They have no idea what's going on. And they're just believing women. And Allah used the same kind of language He used before for people who try to hurt the Prophet. لُعِنُوا فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. He used the same. Here Allah said, لَعَنَهُمُ اللَّهُ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ, which is ashad. Because He mentioned Himself. He brought Himself. There He said, لُعِنُوا فِي الدُّنْيا وَالْآخِرَةِ. They'll be cursed in this life and the next. Meaning when we decide to disparage a believer, when we decide to do that, and we cause pain to believing men and believing women in any way. And this is not just about rumors and accusations. This is also about things, nowadays especially for younger folks here, please listen to this carefully. We're in the age of a new currency, and the new currency is content. Right? Create content and you'll have relevance. And if you keep creating content that's boring or you're not getting the engagement, you're not getting the following, you don't have the shock factor, you don't have the entertainment factor, you're not going to get anywhere, you're not going to be an influencer. So the best way to get influential is to find something that is going to create controversies. A lot of people will start talking. I learned something about this lady let me tell you something. I learned something about this masjid, I learned something about this imam, blah, blah, blah. And then start something. And you just put that as a little, a thumbnail so it gets more views. Shocking truth about Sheikh, Or sister so-and-so, who you thought you knew. Right? And now that'll get current because it'll get millions of views. They'll get millions of views. So this is done, one, to expose people's personal lives or, create doubts about their character. But there's another thing that's being done now. Now I call it the religious UFC. Right? The religious UFC is you found something that someone said, some sheikh, some scholar, some da'i, some khatib said something. Maybe they said something wrong. It's possible. It's possible they said something wrong. Now what do? You won't believe what this person just said. They said it in 30 seconds. I'm going to make sure people understand what they said over the next 2.5-hour podcast. Their mistake was that deep for you? 2.5 hours of your life went into focusing on some other person's mistake? You had nothing else to do with your life? Nothing else was going on. No other contribution to humanity could have been made in that time. And if that opinion that you're tearing apart was seen by 1,000 people, your criticism is going to be seen by 1,000,000 people. So did you lessen the mistake or did you amplify the mistake? Are you benefiting the Muslims or hurting the Muslims by doing this? Hurting the Muslims. وَالَّذِينَ يُؤْذُونَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ بِغَيْرِ مَا اكْتَسَبُوا. What is most Islamic content becoming? Most content online, if you look for Islamic content, does most of it have to do with actually learning something productive or undoing somebody else? Refutation of this, exposing of that, the true story behind this one, the false narrative of that one, the kufr of this one, the ridda. Oh my God. Oh my God. This is Islam? Thousands of hours of this? Thousands of hours. And then who's got time to study Surah Al-Ahzab, man? Who's got time? That's a lot of work. I'd rather just listen to dirt on this sheikh and then people at the bottom, mashallah, jazakallah khairan, you saved me. I used to listen to this person and now Allah has saved me. Jazakallah khairan. Now I know he's a real shaitan. Thank you so much. You just recorded your adha. And when you say something stupid, it comes out of your mouth and it disappears into the universe. The angels recorded it. but it's not being echoed. You're not going around saying it all the time. You made a comment online, you made a video online, and you did it 50 years ago. People are still coming and watching that and adding to your sin over and over and over and over again. Are they not? You wrote a hit piece about someone that fed your ego. You really took them down. What did you get out of it? You got a continual penalty, a boulder that keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and you're walking around like ain't nothing. فَقَدْ احْتَمَلُوا بُهْتَانًا وَإِثْمًا مُبِينًا. If Muslims had this mindset, I'm telling you, the way we deal with people we like and the way we deal with people we don't like, the people we agree with, the people we don't agree with, I think the amount of content online would drop dramatically. Like there would be like a 60% reduction in content if Muslims were living by this. And the problem is, if you're not going to produce this, other, then what are you going to produce? Right? Because I need content. And by the way, who consumes that content? You know who consumes that content? I call them bottom feeders. Because when you produce filth, who's going to eat filth? People that like eating filth. Right? Here you have a surah that's telling you, I want to remove filth from the household. And here we have cultures that are promoting filth, celebrating filth, going around forwarding the filth. Did you see this? Oh my God, that was amazing. Or did you see this? Astaghfirullah, it's so bad. I hope it's not true. Forward it to the rest of your family though. والذين يؤذون المؤمنين والمؤمنات بغير ما اكتسبوا فقد احتملوا بهتانا وإثما مبينا. You know, the toughest, last thing I'll say to you about this, the toughest people, I think the quality of toughness in the Quran is sabr. Quality of toughness, if you want to know what toughness is in the Quran, it's sabr, right? So there's sabr on the battlefield, there's sabr, wasbir ala ma yaqulun, right? Wahjurhum hajran jamila, right? One story I think about that really shakes me is Yusuf alayhi salam. And Yusuf alayhi salam, like, okay, so he's a kid, so he's not tough yet, he's just a kid. And he gets kidnapped. And he gets kidnapped by people who he trusts. Then he gets thrown, he has memory of being thrown into a well by people that are supposed to protect him. Then he has memory of people taking him out of that well, and instead of them being a source of mercy for him, they commodify him and put him in a market where goats and sheep are sold. Then from there, he finds some relief. Maybe this man is going to treat me well, and things are going okay for a little bit, and he ends up having to deal with a psycho lady that's obsessed with him. Then he has to spend time in jail. Years of his whole youth spent in jail. Is that an easy life? Do you ever, if you read the story carefully, do you ever hear him complaining? In fact, one of the worst episodes of his life was the jail. And in jail, he's talking to other prisoners saying that Allah has done a huge favor on me and my family. He's optimistic in jail. And with no possibility of parole, no possibility of a hearing, nothing. And he's optimistic, and Allah has done a huge favor on my family. I come from the legacy of Ibrahim alayhi salam. That's the conversation in jail. Well, why am I bringing that up? He gets out of jail. He becomes a minister. He's in a position of power. Everything's changed. And then his brothers are in front of him. Okay. Has he been through pain in his life? I mentioned some episodes of his pain, and me saying them doesn't begin to cover what he must have actually felt. What must it have been like being in a freezing cold well with, I don't know, snakes, insects, mud, hypothermia, fevers going up and down, calling for Baba. I look at my child and I think of Yusuf alayhi salam. I have to stop thinking. I have to stop thinking. Right? He's gone through pain. And now he's standing in front of his brothers. Does he tell them who he is? He doesn't. He doesn't tell them who he is. And then this whole scheme of accusing Binyamin of stealing. And what did they say? They said, oh, he stole? No surprise. He used to have a brother who was a thief too. That's what they said. That's what they said. Who are they referring to? He used to have a brother who was a thief too. Yusuf alayhi salam. That man has gone through so much pain, and now he's hearing painful words again. You would think these words are no comparison to the life in jail, to the humiliation that the minister's wife caused, to the kidnapping, to the beating, to the years of suffering. And now he's hearing painful words from his own family, yes? Allah says for the first time, أَسَرَّهَا يُوسُفُ فِي نَفْسِهِ وَلَمْ يُبْدِهَا لَهُ. Yusuf kept it, meaning the al-huzn al-shadid, wal-ghadab, wal-ghayth, right? The frustration, the anger, the anxiety, the humiliation, al-dhillah. He kept it all inside of him. وَلَمْ يُبْدِهَا لَهُمْ. And he didn't let them see it. He didn't show it to them. For the first time you're describing Yusuf alayhi salam in pain. And the ha in sarraha is mighty because it's not even capturing one emotion. Ha is here lil jama'. So many emotions were just raging into him. The pain is overwhelming, and he's in his heart, he's saying, Antum sharrul makan, and you're even worse than you used to be. That's what he's saying to them in his heart. Why am I telling you all of this? Because words are real pain. I mean, a man's life in pain, and Allah didn't describe his pain. And he's there and he's hearing these words, and he's in pain. وَالَّذِينَ يُؤْذُونَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ بِغَيْرِ مَا اكْتَسَبُوا فَقَدْ احْتَمَلُوا بُهْتَانًا وَإِثْمًا مُبِينًا. For Allah to record that moment and what he felt inside of him, and he kept it inside. For Allah to record that moment of pain as opposed to what he felt when he was in the well, what fear he felt and what sadness he felt when he was in the jail, what disappointment he felt, what betrayal he felt when he was when his brothers were beating him and taking him, what longing for his father he felt when he was a servant, what frustration and resentment and anger he felt towards an unjust criminal justice system. None of it. No, none of those emotions have been described. That one emotion, when painful words were given, are described. Does the Quran put weight on words? Does the Quran put weight on sharp comments? On humiliation, done directly, indirectly, side jabs, snickering comments, scoffing. This book goes as far as to say, what are the crimes of the kuffar? ثُمَّ النَّظَرُ ثُمَّ عَبَسَ وَبَصَرَ ثُمَّ أَدْبَرَ وَاسْتَكْبَرَ لَيُزْلِقُونَكَ بِأَبْصَارِهِمْ لَمَّا سَمِعُوا الذِّكْرَ. Right? وَلَّا مُسْتَكْبِرًا كَأَنَّهُ لَمْ يَسْمَعْهَا. Quran over and over again. What is it? The anger, the ego on the face, the way they stare at you, the way they make faces at you, the way they want to look at you and to make you fall over, the way they turn their heads and walk away. Body language. Body language is recorded in the Quran because it causes pain. Because even if you didn't say a word, can your face cause pain? Can you make someone feel worthless by the face you make? By the body language you make? By the way you do this? Or can you do that? These ayat are very heavy. It was easy to read about the honor of the Prophet ﷺ and the munafiqun who are causing him pain because there's a level of distance between us and that. But Allah took that sentiment and said, if you love your Prophet, then you will love everyone that he loves. You will love everyone that he loves. And who does he love? النَّبِيُّ أَوْلَى بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ مِنْ أَنفُسِهِمْ. So if you love him and you honor him, directly as a result, you will honor other believers. Even when you have a disagreement with them. Even when you have a disagreement. It's, you know, when I was teaching Surah An-Nur many years ago, inshallah I'll teach it again next year. There's this hadith that just, I failed to make sense of this hadith for so long because it's so, like, out of this world. He's doing tawaf. Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is doing tawaf. And he has such an attachment to the Kaaba that he's talking to the Kaaba. He used to talk to the Kaaba. Can you imagine the level of attachment? مَا أَعْظَمَكِ مَا أَعْظَمَ حُرْمَتَكِ. How amazing you are. How amazing your sanctity is. How sacred you are. How great your sacredness is. He says, وَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ, and I swear by the one who holds my life in his hands. I swear by Allah who's holding my life in his hands. The sanctity of a believer is greater than yours. That's what he tells the Kaaba. To Allah, the dignity of a Muslim is more valuable than the dignity of the Kaaba. The center towards every Muslim's prayer, the direction of every believer's prayer. And Allah says, no, the ruh that Allah put inside a human being, and that ruh decided to believe, the ruh that all the angels were made to do sajda to, and then that ruh decided to turn back to Allah, that ruh that هُوَ الَّذِي يُصَلِّي عَلَيْكُمْ وَمَلَائِكَتُهُ لِيُخْرِجَكُمْ مِنَ الظُّلُمَاتِ إِلَى النُّورِ, that soul, that is sacred to Allah. That is sacred to Allah. أَنْ يُظَنَّ بِهِ إِلَّا خَيْرًا. أَلَّا يُظَنَّ بِهِ إِلَّا خَيْرًا. The hadith ends, his money, his blood, his life, and that nothing but good should be thought about him. That's the sanctity of a believer. SubhanAllah. When Allah said, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ, we honored the children of Adam. Just stop and just think about what he said. We honored the children of Adam. When Allah gives something, do you get to take it away? When you try to take away something Allah gave, is that a crime against the person or a crime against Allah? It's a crime against Allah. It's like you're saying, Allah gave it, but it's not Allah's, it's mine to take. I can take it when I feel like it. It's my property. This person's dignity is my property, and I can take it away. Look with my mouth, I can just take it. What are you going to do? This is why in Surah An-Nur, when somebody's talking about somebody else, immediately you're supposed to say, Subhanaka ma yakunu lana an natakallama bihadha. How perfect you are, Ya Rabb. We just committed an act of blasphemy against you. It's not okay for us to be talking about this. Where did that Quran go from Muslim consciousness? Where did that Quran go? I don't care how bitter I am, how angry I am, how frustrated I am, how I feel like I was done wrong, how somebody falsely lied against me, falsely testified against me. I don't care if they humiliated me, they stole from me, they hurt me, they hurt my family. They did all that. If they did all that, I still don't have a right to humiliate them. I don't have that right. They did all of it. And I say, you know what? They did it. I'm going to do it too. What they do is between them and their Rabb. What they do is between them and their Rabb. They can tell a story about me. They can spread things about me. They can cause me unthinkable damage and not think a thing of it. They can even think that them humiliating me is a righteous cause. They could do that. They could do that. It's okay. Do it. It's okay. I know nobody's innocent. I'm not innocent. You're not innocent. But I also know that Allah's justice is not the same as mob justice. If someone's not innocent, there's a way to deal with that lack of innocence. There's either the court of law or the divine court. That's it. Those are the two courts. Any other court is this وَالَّذِينَ يُؤْذُونَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ. This is the court. And if I'm taking you back as a last comment, if we go back to what Allah said in this surah, مَا كَانَ لِمُؤْمِنٍ وَلَا مُؤْمِنَةٍ إِذَا قَضَى اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ أَمْرًا أَنْ يَكُونَ لَهُمُ الْخِيَرَةُ مِنْ أَمْرِهِمْ. It's not possible for a believing man and a believing woman, when Allah has made a decision about a situation, on any issue, Allah has made a decree that they have any choice in their own situation. They don't get to make their situation an exception to God's rule and say, no, that is God's rule, but I'm really mad right now. That is God's rule, but I need to finish writing this post. That is God's rule, but let me finish this comment and hit send, then I'll go back to God's rule. You don't have that. If you're a believer, you don't have that choice. So if you feel like you have that choice and you exacted that choice, what does that say about your state of belief? Because that ayah is only for who? Believing men and believing women. And if that's not something you feel you can handle, you still feel you have choice, well then clearly this ayah is not talking to you. It's talking to people who actually believe. Allah protect our iman. Allah make us a people of tawbah. Allah give us control over our tongues, that we don't be held responsible for causing pain to Allah, to His Messenger, to the believing men and the believing women. I know that I said that's the last comment. This is the last comment. The last comment. Munafiqun used to humiliate believers. They used to try to humiliate the believers. In Surah Al-Munafiqun, they called the Muhajirun the dogs of Makkah. The dogs of Makkah. Can you imagine? You know what Allah said? Allah said, وَلِلَّهِ الْعِزَّةُ وَلِرَسُولِهِ وَلِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Allah said, and dignity and honor belong exclusively to Allah and His Messenger and the believers. Allah put three of them in one line. In these ayat, you saw Allah and His Messenger in the first one, and then the believing men and women in the second one. In Surah Al-Munafiqun, just like that, He put them all together, because this is one unit to Allah, which means it works forwards and backwards. When you say something unbecoming about Allah, you've offended His Messenger and you've offended all of the believers. When you attack the Messenger of Allah, you've tried to attack Allah and you've attacked the believers. When you attack the believers, you have attacked the Prophet and attacked Allah. All for one for all. That's the principle. If that's the guiding principle for the Muslims, wallahi, we are the most powerful nation on earth. Wallahi al-azim. You don't have to bring about political reform and this reform. If we just live this, just this. First step to unity. Stop creating disunity. First step to unity. Stop causing pain. First step. Just live this. A million people start living this. 1 billion people start living this. The planet looks different. The earth looks like a different place. May Allah Azza wa Jalla allow us to see that day. Barakallahu li wa lakum fil Qur'an al-Hakim wa nafa'ani wa iyyakum bil ayati wa dhikr al-Hakim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.